In the hallowed halls of the Seleucid Empire, Antiochus the Great ascended the throne, a colossus amidst the ruins of a realm torn by the relentless echoes of civil war. The air crackled with uncertainty as the young and untested sovereign embraced a legacy steeped in conquest and chaos. With determination etched in his gaze, Antiochus surveyed the vast domain that sprawled from the Aegean Sea to the edge of the Indian subcontinent, a mosaic of shattered dreams and fractured loyalties. The weight of history pressed upon his shoulders as he vowed to resurrect the glory that once defined the empire. The stage was set for an epic saga where the young ruler would navigate treacherous waters, battling internal dissent and external threats, carving his name into the annals of time as the indomitable architect of the Seleucid resurgence. The Seleucid Empire was a huge empire that came after Alexander the Great's conquests. Started by Seleucus I Nicator, the empire covered a huge area from the Aegean Sea to the Indian subcontinent. Each place in the empire had a piece of Alexander's dream in it. The empire was like a mix of different cultures, languages, and ambitions. It was a living tribute to Alexander's bold dream. But now in our story, the Seleucid Empire is in trouble after a civil war. Parts of the empire like Bactria and Parthia have broken free. And there is trouble both inside and outside of the empire. Now, our main character is Antiochus III. He's young and hasn't been tested much yet. Revolting against a ruler is easiest when a new king takes over, and that's what's happening. The Seleucid Empire is in a really tough spot, but Antiochus is determined to bring back all the provinces under his rule, even if he has to fight for it. When Antiochus becomes king, things are a mess. Following bad advice, he attacks Ptolemaic Syria and loses. The generals he sends to deal with rebels also fail. The only good news is that his cousin Antiochus is doing well in Asia Minor, supporting the Seleucid cause. Then, in 221 BC, Antiochus changes his focus. He looks east and defeats rebellions there. This is partly because he stops listening to bad advice and follows better counsel. He manages to get back control over some rebellious areas. Antiochus also gets rid of a problematic minister named Hermias. By 220 BC, he returns to Syria to restore order. But as more problems kept coming, Antiochus, feeling confident from his successes in Asia Minor, saw a chance and declared himself king there. This made things even worse for Antiochus. Not only were his advisors not helpful, but now his own cousin was rebelling against him. Despite these tough times, Antiochus took a deep breath, picked up his sword, and gathered his forces. If the world wanted a war, Antiochus would give it one. Amidst the tempest of the Battle of Raphia, Antiochus the Great, a commanding figure atop his resplendent steed, led his formidable cavalry into the swirling chaos. The air resonated with the clash of arms and thunderous hooves, creating an otherworldly symphony of destruction. Yet as the battle unfolded, a fateful glance over his shoulder revealed the grim fate of his valiant infantry, the backbone of his army, succumbing to the relentless assault of the Egyptians. The scent of battle mingled with the war cries, and the shadows of fallen warriors stretched across the battlefield. Undeterred, Antiochus spurred his cavalry forward, determined to alter the course of fate and defy the haunting echoes of despair etched in the story of Raphia. In our last episode, Antiochus the Great had just ascended the throne of the great Seleucid Empire. However, he is young and untested. Multiple provinces have declared open revolt, and now his cousin Antiochus has declared himself king. However, Antiochus still wanted glory, and he believed he would find it in Syria. Syria has always been a significant place where the clash between powerful empires from the east and west has echoed throughout history. In the time of bronze and strength, Egypt and the Hittites fought for control. Now, Syria is divided between two new rival empires, the Seleucids led by Antiochus and the Ptolemaic kingdom led by Ptolemy. Antiochus, dreaming of glory and riches, saw Syria as the key to his ambitions. At the start of his rule, he decided to go to war. But before talking about the wars in Syria, let's take a quick glance at the Ptolemies in Egypt. Started by one of Alexander's top generals, the Ptolemies ruled Egypt strongly. The first Ptolemy was a good ruler, but later ones treated local Egyptians as less important, favouring Greeks in important roles. Afraid of a rebellion, the Ptolemies didn't let Egyptians join the military. Facing a strong Seleucid army, the current King Ptolemy had a big problem. His Greek forces couldn't match the diverse and well-trained Seleucid military. In a bold move, Ptolemy had to draft native Egyptians, which had consequences, but that's not important right now. The big clash happened in 217 BC at Raphia. Antiochus had a stronger army, powerful cavalry, skilled infantry, but things went wrong. In a risky cavalry charge led by Antiochus, chaos happened. The Egyptians took advantage, beating the Seleucid infantry, and Ptolemy won an unexpected victory. Antiochus barely escaped and had to retreat. But Ptolemy's win didn't last long. The Egyptian conscripts he had enlisted rebelled, causing a brutal civil war. The advantage against the Seleucids disappeared, setting the stage for more conflicts. In the end, the war didn't have a true winner. Undeterred, Antiochus kept going. In 216 BC, his forces went to western Anatolia to stop the rebellion led by his cousin Antiochus. By 214 BC, Antiochus was captured and executed. Antiochus, having reclaimed Central Asia Minor, aimed to get back more distant provinces. In 212 BC, he besieged Xerxes of Armenia, making them surrender after refusing to pay tribute. In 209 BC, Antiochus marched into Parthia, capturing the capital and winning a battle. Peace was reached as the Parthian king sought reconciliation, a crucial part of Antiochus's ambitious conquests. Now only one rebellious province, Bactria, stood in his way. Under the scorching sun, Antiochus the Great embarked on a relentless campaign, leading his army across the sun-drenched river into the realm of Bactria. The heat hung heavy in the air, and the glint of sunlight off his helmet's visor barely offered respite from the intense rays. As he crossed the shimmering waters, the Bactrians, resolute and undeterred, awaited on the opposing bank, their silhouettes sharpened by the glaring sunlight. Ready for battle, the Bactrian warriors, shields gleaming, stood as an unyielding wall against the invading force. Antiochus, undaunted by the harsh conditions, forged ahead, determination burning into his eyes as he confronted the formidable challenge that awaited him in the sun-soaked land of Bactria. In the previous episode, Antiochus of the Seleucids seeks glory in Syria against the Ptolemies of Egypt. Despite a defeat at Raphia in 217 BC, Antiochus marches on, quelling rebellion in Anatolia, securing victories in Armenia and Parthia, and achieving peace with Parthia. Only the rebellious province of Bactria remains unconquered. Antiochus the Great is on the move. He's on a huge mission to get back the eastern lands, reminiscent of what Alexander the Great did centuries ago. But Antiochus has a tough job because he's not up against one big empire. His opponents are a bunch of independent kingdoms that are super strong and really good at fighting, especially Bactria. Now, the Bactrians are well known for being amazing horse riders. Even Alexander the Great had a tough time beating them. But now, Antiochus has a new problem. The Bactrians have mixed their way of life with Greek traditions and Greek lifestyles. So the kingdom Antiochus wants to conquer isn't just Bactria. He's facing Greco-Bactrians, a mixture of East and West. They use the famous Bactrian heavy cavalry and more impressive Greek fighting formations. And they are really good at beating nearby Indians. Basically, they are masters of war. In 209 BC, when Antiochus went to get Bactria back for the Seleucid Empire, the original rebel ruler was already gone. Now, Euthydemus, one of the top Greco-Bactrian leaders, was in Antiochus's way. They fought, and Antiochus won at the Battle of Aureus. But when he tried to take the city of Bactria, things got tough, and he had to make a deal for peace. As part of the peace talks, Euthydemus sent his son, Demetrius, to talk. Demetrius impressed Antiochus so much that Antiochus not only promised one of his daughters to Demetrius, but also let Euthydemus keep his royal title. And by the way, Demetrius later expanded the Greco-Bactrian influence into India, becoming super powerful. But we're focused on Antiochus here. Antiochus wasn't stopping. Like Alexander, he went into the Kabul Valley and reached the Indian king Sophogasinus. After getting elephants and making his army strong again, he controlled most of the Seleucid Empire, all the way from Anatolia to the borders of India. It seemed like nothing could stop his conquest. But there was a problem. Syria in the Middle East was still up for grabs. A battleground between the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. Round 2 was about to start, and the fate of the empire was hanging in the balance. Antiochus was at a big decision point, ready for the next part of his epic story. In the war-ravaged halls of his capital, a weary Antiochus the Great found respite, his once buoyant spirit weighed down by the burdens of conflict. The air hung heavy with the scent of battle, and the scars of war adorned both the landscape and the soul of the Seleucid ruler. As he sought solace, news arrived in the form of a herald, bearing tidings that Ptolemy of Egypt, his perennial rival, had met his demise. The weariness momentarily lifted from Antiochus' shoulders, replaced by a renewed flame ignited by the embers of old enmity. With a solemn determination, he picked up his sword, the blade worn by the countless struggles it had witnessed, and ordered the Seleucid army to advance once more. Syria, a prize long sought, would now be his, as Antiochus, fueled by the prospect of conquest, prepared to unleash the might of the Seleucid forces upon the fateful land where destiny and war converged. In the last episode, Antiochus the Great aimed to reclaim eastern territories, defeating the Greco-Bactrians in 209 BC. Opting for an honourable peace, he negotiates unexpected concessions with Euthydemus' son, Demetrius. However, Syria is still open for glory, and Antiochus prepares for round 2 against the Ptolemies, the crossroads of destiny looming. In Syria, the last time we checked, Ptolemy had beaten Antiochus and chased him away. But Ptolemy's victory led to his own problems. He had armed the local Egyptians, not realizing it would lead to a rebellion against him. Ptolemy, trying to control the Egyptians again, ended up facing his downfall in the process. Antiochus saw this as a chance to settle the score. In 204 BC, Ptolemy IV died, and his young son Ptolemy V inherited a kingdom in chaos. There was a power struggle for control, marked by murders and chaos. Antiochus took advantage of this mess and invaded Syria for the second time. He convinced Philip IV of Macedon to help him, and together they planned to conquer parts of Ptolemaic territory in Asia Minor and Syria. Antiochus quickly won battles, including a big one at the Battle of Panium, where he secured the important port of Sidon. Meanwhile, Rome, a rising superpower from the west, got involved. In 200 BC, Roman messengers warned Philip and Antiochus not to invade Egypt, protecting Rome's important grain supply. Since neither Antiochus nor Philip planned to attack Egypt, they agreed to Rome's demands. Antiochus finished his takeover in 198 BC and then went on to raid Ptolemy's coastal strongholds in Caria and Cilicia. Back in Ptolemy's kingdom, things were a mess. There were problems inside, economic troubles, and a movement led by Egyptian priests. In 195 BC, Ptolemy signed a treaty with Antiochus, giving up the territories and agreeing to marry Antiochus' daughter, Cleopatra I, just to calm things down at home. However, Rome, always watchful, had joined the story. A Carthaginian figure making his way to Antiochus' court would create big problems and bring disaster for the Seleucids. The stage was set for a calamity in the ancient political theatre. In the dimly lit chambers of Antiochus the Great, the weight of a momentous decision hung heavy in the air as Hannibal Barca, a formidable tactician with an aura of relentless persuasion, exerted his influence. For days, Hannibal had been weaving a tapestry of strategic allure, drawing Antiochus into the intricate dance of war. The flickering candle cast shadows on Antiochus's contemplative visage, reflecting the internal struggle between ambition and caution. Hannibal's words, akin to a persistent drumbeat, echoed in the silence, gradually chipping away at the barriers of restraint. Finally, at the precipice of a fateful choice, Antiochus yielded to the relentless pressure, In a decisive moment, he issued the command to invade Greece. Hannibal's strategic brilliance intertwined with Antiochus's ambitions, setting the stage for a tumultuous chapter in the annals of ancient warfare. In the last episode, revolts in Egypt gave Antiochus the opportunity he was looking for to finally win the Syrian wars. However, his growing power has attracted the attention of Rome, who are now beginning to interfere in his plans. A fatal war is brewing on the horizon. After taking over Syria, the only threat to the Seleucids from the Ptolemies remained in Asia Minor. As we mentioned before, Philip of Macedon was supposed to handle this, but Rome stepped in, and Philip got stuck in a war he couldn't win. Still determined, Antiochus focused on Asia Minor, trying to control the coastal towns influenced by the Ptolemies and the independent Greek cities. But this move angered the Roman Republic, which claimed to defend Greek freedom. In 196 BC, Antiochus gained a foothold in Thrace, taking advantage of Rome pulling back from Greece. Hannibal, a famous general who had caused trouble for Rome in the past, joined Antiochus and encouraged him to go to war. Hannibal, known as one of history's great generals, had made a big impact on Rome during the Second Punic War. After that, he led Carthage, but was later kicked out for running it too well, making the Romans uneasy. At Antiochus's court, Hannibal pushed for war with Rome and became the naval commander. Using clever tactics like catapulting snakes onto enemy ships, Hannibal won many battles. In 192 BC, Antiochus marched into Greece with a 10,000-strong army. But in 191 BC, the Romans led by Manius Acilius Glabrio defeated him at Thermopylae. Antiochus had to retreat to Asia Minor. The Romans took advantage of their victory by invading Anatolia. Scipio Asiaticus's big win at Magnesia and Sicilium in 191 BC, along with Hannibal's defeat at sea, gave Asia Minor to the Romans. In 188 BC, the Treaty of Apamea made Antiochus give up all land north and west of the Taurus Mountains. The Romans gave these lands to allies like Rhodes and the ruler Eumenes II. Many Greek cities kept their freedom, and this hit the Seleucid Empire hard, making the outlying provinces break away. In a final attempt for power, Antiochus went to Luristan, but died while looting a temple in Elmias, Persia, in 187 BC. And so, the epic story unfolded. A tale of conquest, alliances, and the rise and fall of empires in ancient history. The air crackled with the energy of conquest, as he, the once mighty ruler of the Seleucid Empire, sought to assert dominion even in the sacred abode of Bel. The temple, a symbol of divine reverence, bore witness to the clash between mortal aspirations and celestial forces. The Persian night whispered ancient secrets, and the moonlit shadows played witness to the tragic dance of hubris. Antiochus, draped in the mantle of his imperial dreams, ventured into the sanctum, with an audacity that mirrored the echoes of Alexander's audacious conquests. Yet, as he pillaged the sacred halls, fate intervened with a vengeance, as the gods, offended by the sacrilege, unleashed a tempest of retribution. The winds howled, and the very earth beneath him seemed to rebel. In that moment of divine reckoning, Antiochus, once a colossus of ambition, met his demise. A mortal, undone by the celestial wrath he dared to provoke. The temple of Bel at Elemias bore witness not only to the fall of a conqueror, but to the inexorable justice meted out by the gods themselves. In the big picture of history, Antiochus the Great is a bit of a puzzle. His story has both impressive moments of ambition and some pretty dark times of defeat. It plays out in a time of chaos, echoing the achievements of Alexander the Great, but ending quite sadly. The big question is whether we should really call Antiochus the Great, given that he ultimately didn't succeed. Antiochus inherited a huge empire, the Seleucid Empire, and wanted to do something grand with it, just like the great conquerors of old. Like Alexander, he tried to bring back together an empire that had fallen apart. His military moves to reclaim areas in Syria that used to belong to the Ptolemaic Empire showed he was a skilled leader. He even went after Asia Minor, using both land and sea forces, which was a lot like what Alexander did when he marched through Persia. But Antiochus's dreams came with problems. He got into conflicts with the Roman Republic because he went into Thrace and Greek territories, much like Alexander faced challenges when he expanded eastward. The similarities with Alexander are clear: a charismatic leader with big dreams, dealing with different cultures and running into a powerful Roman force. One major part of Antiochus' story is his alliance with Hannibal, the smart Carthaginian general. This is a lot like how Alexander was connected with the famous philosopher Aristotle. Both partnerships show a mixture of military strength and intellectual power in the pursuit of empire. The climax of Antiochus' story is like the sad ending to Alexander's legacy. After gaining a lot of land, Antiochus faced the normal ups and downs of empires. His attempt to get back lost territories, just like Alexander's determination to keep his empire going, ended in a big defeat by the Romans in 190 BC. The Treaty of Apamea sealed Antiochus' fate, taking away big parts of the Seleucid Empire and pushing it into the shadows of its former greatness. So, does Antiochus deserve the title the Great, even though he didn't ultimately succeed? It's a bit tricky. While he had big dreams like Alexander, he couldn't stand up to the powerful Roman force, which is a big difference. Calling him the Great might not fit perfectly when you compare him to the triumphs of Alexander, but Antiochus' legacy isn't just about failure. It's a reminder of the relentless pursuit of greatness, even when the odds are stacked against you. Antiochus the Great is a complex figure, a visionary whose dream was like the great conquerors. But he became a victim of changing power dynamics. His legacy, even though it's marked by defeat, is an important chapter in the ongoing struggle for dominance. Greatness, in his story, isn't just about winning. It's also about daring to aim high, even when fate decides to bring you back down.
Thank you for watching and listening to our videos. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed. Or if you really like the channel, consider supporting us on Patreon. There, for as little as $1 a month, you'll gain access to an ever-expanding variety of exclusive Ancient History Guide content not found anywhere else online. All donations go directly back into the channel, helping us on our campaign to conquer YouTube. All sources are listed and linked in the description below. I've been the Ancient History Guy, and as always, I'll be seeing you later.